Hi friends, this is Dr. Sonu Panwar, and now I'm starting a series on YouTube of clinical microbiology, and in that the first one is UTI. And what is UTI? You already know. This is termed as urinary tract infections. Okay, so to understand this topic, a very simple thing you need to do first, and what is that simple thing is that you need to remember that what is upper urinary tract and what is lower urinary tract. If you have this idea, then it becomes a cakewalk for you to understand regarding the UTI. Okay, so first thing is what comes in the upper urinary tract. Obviously, as from the picture also, it is very clear that the kidneys are involved up in the upper urinary tract and the ureters are involved up in the upper urinary tract. Okay, whereas in the lower urinary tract, you remember this particular one that there is a bladder and urethra, which are the main features of lower urinary tract: bladder and the urethra. In the upper, we have kidney and the ureters. And obviously, in the lower urinary tract, the prostate comes. So that is what is in the males, and in the females, cervix can also be termed as coming up in this lower urinary tract infections or lower urinary tract stuff. Okay, so guys, remember first this particular picture that. These are all the important ones according to which you can understand that what is termed as upper urinary tract and what is termed as lower urinary tract. Okay, first thing. Then talking about certain predisposing factors that which all particular fellows they tend to have the UTI. Okay, which all particular fellows they tend to have the UTI, and remember in them this particular thing. Okay, so this particular thing is from the Harrison, and in the Harrison this particular picture is being given up, and what is like a sort of a triangle is there, and this triangle is the triangle of UTI, and this triangle tells of what, that organism decides up, environment decides up, and the host factors decides up UTI. Okay, so organism means what, that which type of organism is there, enterobacteriaceae member or is a gram-positive cocci, which all virulence factors this fellow is having. Is it having the P. fimbrias, it is having some another stuff like type 1 pilus and all. Okay, and are they expressing up those virulence factors because of which they become more virulent? So all these things, that is in the organism stuff. As per as the environment concerned up, that which particular fellows they tend to have more of it. So obviously the vaginal ecology, that determines for whom, that is for the females. Then the anatomy and the urinary retention, that is because of some structural changes and because of some urinary retention stuff, because of anything it can be because of any reasons, like because of obstruction, because of stones, okay, because of stricture and all. Okay, if any urethra and all catheter, urethric catheter is being put up, so that is termed as medical devices and all, which can lead to the conditions suitable to cause what, UTI. Now, other than that, what are the host plays a role in this? The host plays a role this, that the important entity is genetic background also. Okay, remember guys, the genetic background also plays a role. And an interesting thing I tell you here, that the woman with a recurrent UTI, okay, those particular women which have a recurrent UTI, they are more likely to have had their first UTI before the age of 15 years. Okay, so if you see up a particular woman which is having a recurrent UTI, so when you asked for the history of that particular woman, now you will find a very strange thing. She will tell what? She will tell that she had an episode before the age of 15 years itself. And interestingly, she will give a history of maternal UTI also. That the mother is also having this particular recurrent UTI problem, and me had this particular thing before 15 years. So this is a characteristic history in which the host factors play a role regarding the UTI. So need to remember this also. Okay. Other than that, another genetic background stuff is one more which you need to remember up, that there is a mutations in the host innate immune response. Okay, that is a certain type of receptors like interleukin 8 receptors, they play a role here in this particular one. So that is also important point. Other than that, the behavioral factors of that particular fellow, any underlying disease and all, like diabetes and all that, or tissue specific receptors, which I just talked about, like toll like receptors and all that, they all play a role in the UTI. Okay, so basically this triangle tells up that the organism decides up that which type of virulent factors it have, that decides up the UTI stuff. Other than that, the environment, that particular environment, that is vaginal ecology or something like because of retention, urinary retention, because of obstruction and all, or catheter and all is there, the medical devices, and host factors like genetic background, behavioral factors, underlying disease, and tissue specific receptors. These all things they determine up this particular UTI. Okay, now guys, here first of all we'll talk about certain important factors which we have just talked about all these factors only, but in somewhat detail now, like what are the various predisposing factors. And in this predisposing factors, the most important point which comes up is the gender. Okay, so this gender bias is here also, and the females, they have more chance of developing the UTI infection than the males. And the reason is what? Reason is very simple, that they have a short urethra and they have a close proximity, like short distance between the urethra and between anus, and because of that they have a very high chances of colonization and all, and leading to the disease. So the gender plays an important role, and females have this because of two things. One is the short urethra, another one is the close proximity to the anus. Fine. Then second important thing is age, which determines up the UTI stuff. And as the age advances, the UTI episodes increase up. If the age is increasing up, the UTI bound to happen in both male and female more. Okay, what is the meaning of this thing? The meaning of this thing is, in males, what happens? BPH, benign prostatic hypertrophy. Okay, so what happens in this? So that particular thing, that will lead to the prostatic hypertrophy and all, and that will lead to the obstruction, and that will lead to the increased chances of UTI. And the females also, they tend to have more chances of developing up this particular UTI as the age advances up and all. Okay, so this is also playing an important role, that is what we say the age and all. So first is gender, the second is age, and the third one is pregnancy. Okay, the third one is pregnancy, which is a very important factor. Pregnancy, important in the pregnancy is this thing, that this mostly happens up, and this mostly happens up, it means what? That is termed as ASB. And what is ASB? Asymptomatic bacteriuria. And asymptomatic bacteriuria, as such, you can say that it is not showing any symptom and signs and all. What it can do? It can do a problem in the female also and in the child also. So this needs to be corrected, and that's why we say in the pregnancy you need to go for the urine examination, because if the lady is not showing symptom signs, still if at all she is having this asymptomatic bacteriuria, then that is a problem. You need to treat it. Okay, and that is what is termed as ASB, that is asymptomatic bacteriuria. Okay, so this asymptomatic bacteriuria is a problem in pregnancy. Otherwise, no need to treat it. But it's a problem where? In the pregnancy. You need to be serious about it in the pregnancy. Then, after that, guys, remember up regarding one of the factors that is termed as structural and functional abnormalities. Okay, because of any particular problems like structural functional abnormality, the UTI can happen up. And what is the structural functional abnormality? The structural, as the S suggests, that is regarding the stricture. Any stricture, urethral stricture and all, that can produce up. So because of that, the obstruction will happen. Other than that, another S is there, that is the stones, which can lead to this particular thing. Okay, and these particular stones, they can cause the obstruction and all. The prostate enlargement, that can lead to this prostate enlargement, the structural change. So this you also need to remember. Okay, then regarding the functional ones, one example you remember, that is the neurogenic bladder, which happens in the spinal cord injury. So neurogenic bladder is a functional abnormality which can lead to UTI and all. Other than that, important one is VUR. And what is VUR? Vesico-ureteric reflex. And this vesico-ureteric reflex, because of this, the urine from the bladder, it can go upwards, okay, to the ureters and even sometimes to the renal pelvis, and that leads to UTI. So VUR is also an important cause of causing a what? UTI. And as I told you just now, that some genetic factors are also there, that those having a history of mother having UTI and recurrent UTI, they also having, and the first episode of them happens what? Before 15 years. Then these are the genetic factors also which are coding up for this particular one. So you can just write up that the genetic factors also play a role up in the causation of UTI. Okay, so the first you can remember up that is the regarding the gender we have talked about. Then we have talked about the age, and then we have talked about the pregnancy. So the gap, you can remember like the gap, and then you have the structural and functional abnormalities, then VUR and genetic factor. Okay guys, now regarding the etiology we will talk about now. Okay, so regarding the etiology we will talk about, and there is no points in guessing that which is the number one. So number one is E. coli. More than 70% of the infections are being done by what? UTI by this particular E. coli. It accounts for more than 70% of total cases, mind you. Okay, so this is a huge number. Then more than 70% are being caused by what? E. coli. Another particular fellows which can leads to this UTI in the member, like in the family of the E. coli, they are which fellows? Like Klebsiella, okay, and the Proteus. They can also leads to UTI, and they belongs to the Enterobacteriaceae family. Other than that, these three fellows, Pseudomonas is the one which you need to remember up, that can lead to UTI and all. And the brother of it now, that is that Acinetobacter. Okay, so they also can play a role in the UTI. Obviously, yes, less as compared to all others. Now, this particular thing you remember up regarding the Staph saprophyticus. The Staph saprophyticus is a gram-positive cocci, and it have a special affinity towards the young females, and especially after the marriage. Okay, and this in the young females usually cause what? UTI. The Staph saprophyticus is also a very important entity that leads to this UTI stuff. Okay guys, so this is regarding the etiology and all. And if somebody asks you that which is the most common cause of nosocomial as well as community acquired UTI, obviously the answer is what? E. coli. Okay, and this is the most common nosocomial infection also. Okay, in the hospital, that this particular E. coli causes of the UTI, and because of it, it is also one of the infection, and the causative organism for that, E. coli, that is also very common up in the hospitals to cause up this particular UTI and all. Okay, now I like to tell you by how does the infection spreads off, and which particular route they take, and how does the infection happens. For that, I want to show you one picture here, and this is what is the pathogenesis of urinary tract infection. Okay, so no need to go deep into it, and just listen up once that as I've told you, bladder and urethra, which particular thing? Lower or upper UT? So they are lower UT, and this particular kidney and ureter, they are upper UT, that is upper urinary tract. Now, mostly the infection happens in this particular fashion, that is the ascending fashion, that is colonization happens first. There is a periurethral area colonization. After that, it goes up into the bladder, and that is the uroepithelium is penetrated up, and it goes into the bladder and lead to what? It leads to cystitis. This is what is termed as cystitis. And after that, it goes upwards, and that is termed as ascension. This particular word means ascension means going upwards, and it goes into the kidneys and leads to what? Pyelonephritis. Okay, so this particular thing is the way by which most of the infection happens. So remember, in the lower UTI as well as the upper UTI, the most common route is which one? The most common route is ascending route. Whereas because of hematogenous stuff, because of hematogenous route seeding, Suppose some infection is there in the blood, that is there in the blood, and because of it, it goes into this particular, into the kidneys and all, and that is what is termed as what? Pyelonephritis again. And there's the root is what? The root is descending here. So we all know that there is ascending route mostly, but yes, descending route is also there when the infection is in the blood. Guys, got it? Now talking about important thing, that is the difference between the lower UTI and the upper UTI. That what is the major difference between them? So obviously there is no points in guessing. In the lower UTI, what you have? Urethra and the bladder, and here you have kidney and the ureter. Okay, I'm short forms I'm using up. Now, what is the features of lower UTI? The lower UTI features are dysuria, that is difficulty urination. Okay, urgency means if that fellow does not find a chance to urinate, then it becomes a very problematic situation for that, because this is an urgency for him, and again that fellow will go up for the urination. Okay, so that is termed as he is fed up with this condition. Frequency, urgency, dysuria, all they happen in lower UTI, whereas in this case these features can be there in the upper UTI, but the main one is what? Fever, there is vomiting, and there is abdominal pain. So remember guys, lower UTI you have these things: fed up, that is the frequency, urgency, dysuria, and fever, vomiting, abdominal pain is a feature of what? That is a feature of upper UTI one. And this is no points in guessing now. Just now we have done that the route of the spread mostly in the lower UTI is the ascending route, and here also the ascending route is the main one, but because of the hematogenous seedling, it can go in the descending way also. Fine. Now, talking about certain things like asymptomatic bacteria and all, because they need to be discussed somewhat. So talking about that is the ASB. I've told you ASB is a problem in whom? It's a problem in pregnancy. So you need to go for a routine urine examination in pregnancy, one thing. But if this ASB happens to be in a non-pregnant woman, okay, in a premenopausal woman, okay, or in old age, then no need to treat. In them, there is no need to treat. So remember this thing also. So regarding the ASB stuff. Then you have the cystitis, and cystitis is termed as what? Cystitis is termed as infection of the bladder. This is the infection of the bladder, and I've already told you what is the main feature of it. That is the fed up with that, frequency, urgency, and dysuria. Okay, so that you already know. And sometimes, remember guys, sometimes hematuria can also happen, and that is a important entity, that sometimes hematuria can also happen in the case of this particular one, that is termed as cystitis. Okay, so guys, remember in the cystitis you have all those features. Along with that, you can remember a hematuria can also happen sometimes. Okay, now after this, something about the pyelonephritis. And in the pyelonephritis, you need to remember the definition first. Then what is the definition? So definition is P for this. Remember the parenchyma of the kidney. That is involved up in the pyelonephritis. Okay. Then the calyces, you already know major and minor calyces, and the renal pelvis. That is there in the pyelonephritis, which is involved up. And obviously I've told you already just now that what are the features which you observe here, that there is a fever, there is a pain, and there is vomiting. These are the important features of pyelonephritis. And one extra point from the Harrison is that it is having a picket fence fever. Very high grade fever is there in the pyelonephritis. Okay, so that also you need to remember. Okay, along with that, you can definitely have the lower UTI features also. That is, we already know, that is fed up, frequency, urgency, dysuria. Okay, they can also be present, but mainly what will be there? Fever, pain, and vomiting. Now, guys, talking about the important lab diagnosis of it. And in the lab diagnosis, you will do the specimen collection, and specimen collection you will do in a wide mouth screw capped container. Okay, and what you will take midstream urine. Obviously, clean catch midstream urine you will take, or you can go for suprapubic aspiration. Okay, right from the bladder you can take up the urine, or you can ask the patient to go for what? Midstream urine, and that is a clean catch. Fine. And if your patient is what? Catheterized. If your patient is catheterized, then from the catheter tube you will aspirate the urine. Okay, so urine aspirated from the tube, catheter tube. Don't take it from the directly from the urine bag. You have to take it from the catheter tube. Okay, and so MSU stands for midstream urine sample, SPA stands for suprapubic aspiration, and this is catheterized one. Another thing, that this particular urine you have collected up, now how to transport it from the wards up to the lab? So you have to do it immediately. It is to be processed immediately. Okay, so you have to send up the sample. You don't have to store it up in the those particular wards and all. You should send it immediately, otherwise of no use. If you can't, then you have to refrigerate it. So basically refrigerate the urine sample if you can't transport it immediately. That is important. Otherwise you add some boric acid to it if you have it. Okay, so that is also one of the important things to be mentioned up. Otherwise you will have the pseudo results. Then after that, go for the direct examination. Okay, urine direct examination is being done, and on this there was a question that various screening tests they are there which you can go for. In any of the samples, what is the first thing to be done is wet mount examination. So what you do, you take a urine drop, and you take a cover slip, you just put it over the urine drop, and you just see it under microscope. So that is termed as wet mount examination. And what you able to see up in a infected one, you can able to see up the pus cells. Okay, and sometimes bacteria also you can see up likewise only. Okay, then the second thing is you can find out these particular pus cells by this particular test, which is a dipstick test termed as leukocyte esterase test, which is a dipstick test, and it determines this particular enzyme into the urine, that is esterase. After that comes the nitrate reduction test. Remember guys, if you remember the Enterobacteriaceae family, this they have this property to change nitrate into nitrite, and this particular test is termed as what? That is termed as grease nitrite test. Okay, this is termed as what? Grease nitrite test or grease nitrate test. So that also can be done as a direct examination in the screening. Then obviously you know that the full Enterobacteriaceae member, they are what? They are catalase test positive. What they are? They are catalase test positive. So this particular one you can also go for that. Not obviously we are telling her, but just now this test can be performed. What is this test? 3% H2O2, and you can just put up into the urine and you can get this positive. And after that, obviously you can make a gram staining of it, and the gram staining of the urine helps you to understand that with whom you are dealing up. Are you dealing with the GPC? Are you dealing with the gram negative bacilli? So that will determine about gram staining of the urine. Okay, so in total, in the last three you can remember up by the CNG, and CNG means catalase, nitrate, and gram staining. Other than that, what you do? You wet mount examination and leukocyte esterase. They are same as such. Okay, and then you go for the culture, and the culture is mainly done on what? It can be done on the blood agar, it can be done on the McConkey agar. And guys, the favorite question is becoming what? That what is the other one which you use up? The other one is CLID. And what is CLID? The CLID is cysteine lactose electrolyte deficient agar. That is the CLID. Cysteine lactose electrolyte deficient agar. That is the CLID. Now the question comes, which one is better? The answer is CLID. Why? Because it inhibits the protease and it promotes the growth of other fellows also. Like if some gram positive is growing up, that is being promoted by this CLID. So it's a non-selective media, and that type of media we need to use up for the culture. So that's why if somebody asks you that which particular media is preferred up, the answer is CLID. CLID is better than the McConkey. Then what is the count which is significant and all? The significant count is termed as more than 10 to the power 5 CFU per ml. More than CFU, that is more than 10 to the power 5 CFU per ml, is considered as significant bacteriuria. This is termed as what? Significant bacteriuria. So remember this particular number also, 10 to the power 5. This is termed as significant bacteriuria. Okay. Whereas if the number is between 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 5, then you have to relate up with the symptom and signs. So that is also another thing. Okay. And lower count of less than this is insignificant. You can avoid up them. Okay. Then regarding the treatment stuff. Okay. Regarding the treatment stuff, you need to remember that you can go for nitrofurantoin. Okay, you can go for nitrofurantoin. That is in the treatment one, which is being used commonly nowadays also. Okay, and the dose of it is what? 100 milligram BD 2 times in a day. For how much time? 5 to 7 days. And it is found to be highly effective still now. Okay. So remember guys, nitrofurantoin is a good drug here. Other than that, your favorite Septron you can try off. And obviously that Septron is double strength. And this is also BD, and this can be given for 3 days. Fine. Other than that, another class of drugs, that is fluoroquinolones. That is like ciprofloxacin and all. They can be given up. And beta-lactams, they also play a good role in controlling up the UTI. So one of them is nitrofurantoin. Then you have the another one that is termed as Septran, that is the cotrimoxazole, double strength. And then you have these fluoroquinolones and beta-lactams, which does have a significant role in controlling of the UTI. Okay. So these all things you need to remember regarding UTI. I suppose I made myself clear that what is upper UTI, lower UTI, because most of the fellows, they become confused in this only, that what is upper UTI and what is lower UTI and all. And I suppose now it's this particular fact is clear to you, that which one is upper UTI and which one is lower UTI. Okay. So in the last, you just listen up to the case scenario which can come up like in the clinical scenario stuff. Like clinical scenarios like this. Suppose a female is there, like of 30 to 40 years of age, and that was admitted with this urea. Okay, that is burning micturition, and she is having like frequency increased up for the past 2 days. So this case is of what? So obviously answer now, it's very easy for you. The answer is, it's a case of lower UTI. Okay, mostly cystitis. Then if the same question changes up, how? Now a particular female is there, which is like of 25 years or 20 years, and was admitted with high grade fever. Remember the features: high grade fever, vomiting, flank pain. Okay, obviously along with increased frequency of micturition. Then what? The answer here is what? Then the answer is going towards what? Upper UTI. And upper UTI is also termed as what, guys? Pyelonephritis. Okay, which type of fever is there? picket fence fever. High grade fever is there in the case of upper UTI stuff. So like this, you can relate it with the clinical scenario also. I suppose these all things they prove helpful for you, and thank you so much.